Today, we're going to talk about something that sits at the very heart of what it means to be a good neighbor, a good citizen. It's a tough question. When does that natural instinct to help, to step in, cross a line and become dangerous? We're going to look at three recent, very real events that force us to confront this exact dilemma.
We all have this picture in our minds, right? The ideal community. A place that feels safe, a place that's vibrant, where you know people are looking out for each other. But the scary thing is, that sense of peace can be shattered. In a single moment, an act of violence can pop up seemingly out of nowhere and change everything. To really understand this, we're going to dive into three recent stories from across the country, and they each show, in their own way, just how fragile that peace can be. First, let's head to San Antonio. Picture a totally normal, quiet suburban street, the last place on Earth you'd expect to see federal agents setting off controlled explosions. Then, we'll go to a beautiful, historic park in Savannah, Georgia, a place where a simple, peaceful stroll turned into a random, horrifying attack that left even veteran cops stunned. And finally, we'll look at a case from Fort Worth, Texas. This one is about a split-second decision, an attempt to get a stolen car back that led to an absolutely tragic and irreversible outcome. So, what do these different threats actually look like on the ground? Let's get into the details and really break down the anatomy of these three very different but equally disturbing incidents. Now, this chart, it really lays out the landscape for us. Take a look. In San Antonio, you've got a pipe bombing, but the suspect is in custody. Then in Savannah, a chemical attack, and the attacker is still out there, at large. And in Fort Worth, a car theft that escalated into a homicide, with those suspects also still at large. Three totally different crimes and three very different situations for law enforcement. So, in San Antonio, federal agents arrested a 44-year-old man named Dustin Ammons. Why? For allegedly placing pipe bombs at two different ATMs. When they searched his house, they found bomb-making materials, actual explosives, and a gun. The situation was so serious that the ATF couldn't even move some of the devices. They had to detonate them right there, on site. Now, Ammons is facing up to 15 years in prison. The case in Savannah, honestly, it's terrifying just because of how random it was. A woman was just taking a walk in a public park when a man came up from behind her and threw a corrosive substance on her. This is the kind of attack that just shatters your sense of security. It was so out of the blue that the police chief, a 31-year veteran, said he'd never seen anything like it. The victim had to be flown to a specialized burn center, and the FBI and ATF had to be called in to help. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about the crimes themselves, but now let's focus on that critical moment, the moment of response, because this is where the real dilemma begins for regular citizens, as we're about to see in our final case. And that brings us to the tragedy in Fort Worth. This slide breaks down the fatal chain of events. It started with a stolen car. Now, the owner and his friend, you can imagine how they felt. That powerful, gut-wrenching instinct to get back what's yours, they decided to track it down themselves. But instead of calling 911, they confronted the people they thought were the thieves at a motel. And that confrontation, it escalated. The woman was shot and killed. A life was lost over a piece of property. So let's just pause here for a second. I want you to really imagine this. It's your car, your property, and you see the people who took it. That feeling of being violated is real, it's intense. What's your first instinct? In that heated moment, what would you actually do? Well, law enforcement has a very clear, very urgent answer to that question. And it's a warning that comes directly from dealing with tragedies just like the one in Fort Worth. This right here, this is the crucial point. It's a direct quote from the Fort Worth police, and they are not messing around. They say, do not attempt to recover the vehicle itself. Stay back, keep an eye on things if you can, do it from a safe distance, but the first and most important thing you do is call the police, period. And this slide shows you exactly why. The threats we've been talking about, they require professionals. You find explosives? That's a job for the ATF bomb squads. Unknown chemicals? You need hazmat teams and federal labs for that. And car thieves, who might be armed and dangerous, they need to be handled by trained police officers. It really all boils down to this one simple, undeniable truth. No car, no phone, no piece of property is worth your life or the life of someone you care about. So, this brings us to our final big picture takeaway. It's all about understanding the crucial difference between two things: smart vigilance and dangerous valor. So we come back to this image of a healthy, safe community, but maybe we see it a little differently now. A strong community isn't built by people taking the law into their own hands. It's built by people who know how to protect themselves first, so they can then effectively help law enforcement protect everybody else. And here it is, the key takeaway, broken down as simply as possible. On one side, you have smart vigilance. This is being a good witness, being aware of your surroundings, and reporting what you see to 911. On the other side is dangerous valor, trying to be a hero, chasing suspects, and confronting criminals yourself. One of these helps the police solve a crime. The other just makes you another potential victim.
Ultimately, these stories force every single one of us to ask, where is that line? The authorities have drawn it for us pretty clearly. Observe, report, and stay safe. The real challenge isn't knowing that line exists, it's remembering where it is when the adrenaline is pumping and your gut is screaming at you to act. Because knowing that difference is what keeps a good citizen from becoming another tragedy.